Hello, and welcome back to the Stories of Northern Life podcast, brought to you by the Sault Ste. Marie Museum. I'm your host, Nicole, and today we are going to be looking at an article from the Sault Star that was published in 1971. So, as I said, we're going to be looking at this Sault Star article that was published April 3rd, 1971. And it was looking at the superintendent's house on the Sioux Locks property. And now, apparently, this house was also called the Bouchard House. But I think more of us know it a little bit more as the superintendent's house. So the article is titled Lockhouse was First with Central Heat. So here's the article. Lockhouse was first with central heat. A charming old sandstone house in park surroundings at the Ship Canal has become known to many people in Sault Ste. Marie as the Bouchard House. It has been home to St. Lawrence Seaway Authority Superintendent John Bouchard and his family for almost 15 years, and as the official home of his predecessors since its completion in 1895. Construction began on the Lock, the large sandstone office building and house in 1893, and all were completed by the fall 2 years later when the Pacific locked through downbound to open the Canadian locks. Mr. Bouchard has in his second-story office a complete set of original plans for the rambling 12-room house. He obtained them in Ottawa some years ago. The dwelling house, as it was termed on the detailed drawings, shows the plans for installing the first central heating system in this area. It was probably the reason for only one fireplace, Mr. Bouchard told us when we went to the house for an interior look recently. I am told the house burned 40 tons of coal each winter. The only major physical change was the addition of a sun porch during the time of J. W. Libby Ross, Lock superintendent between 1907 and 36. Mr. Bouchard, who has been compiling a history through letters and pictures with the intent of writing the Seaways history in Canada, quote, someday, he estimates the addition to the house as 1908. Quote, Mr. Ross was a man with a green thumb. The house and the office has been built on flat, untried property, and it was through him that many of these giant trees got their start. The sun porch was his greenhouse where he set out the many plants that would turn the property into a showplace in summer. It was a social center in those years. End quote. The Bouchards told me, quote, the veranda held rocking chairs and many people came to sit and drink tea and watch the boats in the lock. The house was built before there were any cars. People walked to the locks on weekend and holidays, and many knew the hospitality of the superintendent's house, end quote. The Bouchards gave a party for lock personnel and former staff one Christmas recently, and 123 people were accommodated in the large rambling house. Quote, many had never been inside the house previously, end quote. They marked this winter as one of the first they had not skated or had skating parties on the canal. The water surface was too rippled. From the sun porch, where Lucille Bouchard's binoculars and Bird's book stood ready on a table, we could see the rock garden that had been their family centennial project. The bird feeding stations that punctuated the property, and the lattices gazebo that once knew grown-up tea parties and was used as a playhouse by all three Bouchard children. The sun porch, as it is called, is really a sun room. It has been heated, and through it we entered the large, high-ceilinged living room, where all the deep-set windows were flooded with sunlight. The fireplace, now finished in polished white oak, is the result of the Bouchards removing, quote, all 9 coats of paint, end quote. The winding staircase in the large entrance hall have the same satisfactory revelation to them after hours of tedious work. The hand-rubbed oak finished, the soft blue carpeting and blue Aztec wallpaper make their labor worthwhile. The woodwork in the downstairs is painted white. The deep-set bay windows in the dining room show the only basswood tree on the canal property. The tree towers past the master bedroom on the second floor. The kitchen, which was shown in the original plans to the house only a sink, has been given modern touches by the tenants. The Bouchards have retained an old-fashioned look only in the quaint rocking chair that sits in the front of the long narrow window and an oval rug and wicker dog bed. In the dining room we had encountered the proud family cat and met her 3 kittens. The house once had maids' quarters on the third floor. Quote, "They must have been cold. It wasn't insulated in those days," end quote, Mrs. Bouchard told us. The attic has since been turned into a, quote, "pad for our daughter," end quote. The Bouchard children are Mary Lou, 17, Robert, 19, and Catherine, 10. The old-fashioned wooden phone box in the hall is a twin to the one in the attic room that is used to summon the young lady for meals. Quote, "As well as maids, the superintendent and his family also enjoyed the services of 3 gardeners in the early days." End quote. In the separate greenhouse filled with geraniums and floral contributions for this summer's garden beds, they also enjoy the services of the Locke's gardener, Ernest Denard. Interest is kindled by the fact that Mr. Bouchard studied horticulture before he went into engineering. The carriage house now contains boats and motors and snow equipment. The small white shed near the greenhouse was once a bee house. It is now a tool shed. One of the most versatile rooms stemmed from an outdated pantry off the kitchen. When the Bouchards' 3rd child was born, it became a nursery. Because of the size of the house and difficulty of hearing a baby crying on the second floor, it is now a sun-filled library and a favorite spot for doing homework. The bell system from room to room with a control box in the kitchen still works. The bell in the dining room was under the table and had to be disconnected. When the light fixtures were changed at the time the current was changed from DC to AC, the old ones that would be cherished antiques now were taken down and replaced. The Bouchards found one in the carriage house and restored it. When the Bouchards moved in 1957, the house was in need of repair. It had been suffering from little maintenance for some time. In 1921, a water tank of gigantic proportions burst in the attic and sent water cascading down the 2 stories. Layer upon layer of paper went on the walls and paint was added to paint on the woodwork. They began to fix the house in stages, put in new plumbing and new kitchen cupboards. The kitchen has 6 doors and no cupboards. They refloored the kitchen, installed new lighting, and made room for a laundry room, cutting down on the size but adding efficiency. Quote, "We steamed the paint off and 7 layers later we began to see the end of our work." End quote. The Bouchards pay $100 a month for their home. The Phillips, who were in residence in 1952, paid $22. The house is owned by the federal government, and it would appear that funds are available for renovations, if anyone shows an interest in doing so. Mr. Bouchard wants to restore the wrought iron railings that decorated the exterior of both the office and the house. They were removed and lost sometime during the past 76 years. He has the pattern in pictures and intends to have them duplicated. They hope to retain the atmosphere of the 1895 house, but restore it to its original beauty. So there is the article all about the superintendent's house, and from 1971. So the Bouchards seem to be very good caretakers of the house, and the canal now owns a house. Nobody lives there. They do still try to keep up the building, And the greenhouse is actually now used by the Sault Ste. Marie Horticultural Society. So they run the greenhouse, they grow other plants in there, and a third of the plants that they grow do go back to the canal so that the canal can plant them in their gardens, all on their property. So I hope you have enjoyed the episode today, and as always, thanks for listening. Bye.
Have you been to your local museum lately? Visit us at the Sault Ste. Marie Museum, located in downtown Sault Ste. Marie, the one with the big clock tower on the top. Our hours of operation are 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Tuesday to Saturday. We have 3 floors of exhibits that we constantly work on updating. The whole family is welcome, as we have activity sheets and scavenger hunts with prizes for every kiddo, a discovery gallery full of hands-on learning, and more interactive elements scattered throughout the museum. And don't forget to come say hi and let us know you're a listener of the podcast.